So babe, it sounds like someone tapping on the window. Your mind tries to make something normal out of something that is very abnormal. The quicker you can get your mind out of that and into action, the better off you are. So I went over and I thought it was tapping at the window, opened up the curtain, there was nobody there. She said, come into the kitchen, it sounds louder in there. I ran into the kitchen and I realized right away that it was gunfire. I was an NRA instructor for several years. I've been a pistol defense shooter and instructor for even more years than that, 20 odd years. I know what gunfire sounds like. I ran to my safe. My daughter ran out the door, jumped in her car and ran up the block to find out what was going on. I called my wife. She answered the phone. I said, where are you at? She said, I'm at Rachel's house taping and floating the walls. She could hear the panic in my voice. She said, what's going on? I said, there's someone shooting up the church. And she said, don't go over there. And I hung up on her. Grabbed a rifle out of my safe, grabbed a magazine, popped a box of ammunition open, and grabbed a handful and ran toward the door. I didn't put shoes on. People said, why didn't you put shoes on? I didn't have time to put shoes on. The urgency was get out, make it stop. Every shot I was hearing could potentially be for one of my neighbors, one of my friends. As I ran toward the door, my other daughter came in and said, Dad, there's a guy in black tactical gear shooting up the church. I said, did you call 911? She said, I did. They're aware of it. What does that tell me now? I'm headed across the street. The police are coming full bore to a mass shooting, and I've got an AR-15 in my hand. What are they going to think? At that moment, I was more scared of the police than I was the shooter. But I decided that if I saw the first police cruiser, I was going to toss the rifle. I was going to hit the pavement face down and start screaming, he's still in there, he's still in there. My community couldn't wait. I truly believe the Holy Spirit had taken over me, and I was thinking more clearly that moment than I had ever thought in my life. And as I ran out the door, my 25-year-old daughter followed me out the door. I turned around and looked at her. I said, baby, go back in the house. Load me another magazine. I just have a handful of ammunition and I might need it. And she went back in the house. I knew she couldn't come, load a magazine, come across the street and say, here, Dad, in the middle of a gunfight. But I didn't want her following me over there because he already had more targets than I cared to think about. And I certainly didn't want him having another that I cared so deeply about. And second, I didn't want to see her. I didn't want her to see me fail if I would have. As I ran across the street, I screamed out. I yelled out. In the church, he had just shot Chris Workman in the back, and Chris Workman instantly was paralyzed from the waist down. He shot Chris Workman's mother through the breast and then skipped one off of the concrete into her leg. And he was walking over to finish them off with his pistol when he heard me cry out. In the Bible it says when Jesus walked into the garden and the two possessed men saw him, the demons within them said, we know who you are. Have you come to torment us before our time? And Jesus called out the demons and sent them into the pigs, and they ran over the cliff and died. I believe it was that same voice that cried out from me that called out the demon that was in him. Because instantly, as he walked over to finish them off, he stopped. They heard me in the church over all of the gunshots and all the screams and all the mayhem that was happening in the church. They heard me and he heard me. And he came outside the church And then I realized my greatest fears. He had on Class 3 body armor and a ballistic helmet. And he started shooting at me. I'm going to tell you, as an NRA instructor, I've seen guns fired from a lot of different angles before, never pointed at me and the trigger being pulled. But there it was. And God spoke to me at that moment, do what I sent you here to do. Don't worry about those shots. I ran behind a Dodge pickup truck. Something comforting about a 6.2 liter V8 Hemi. He hit the truck in front of me. He shattered the windshield of the car behind me, and he hit the house behind me. And I was able to put 2 shots, one in his left chest, one in his abdomen, but he had on Class 3 body armor. He kept coming. He instantly started running for his vehicle, which was sitting in the middle of the street with the engine running and the driver's side door open. When he turned to get into his door, I put one between the plates in his side. I put one high in his legs. He was able to get into his vehicle, shut the door. He put 2 rounds through the side of the window. And I saw the glass open up and start falling. I couldn't see his head from the reflection of the glass. But I pulled my rifle up and I put one more through where I perceived his head to be. Coroner's report said he was busted across his forehead. It was this close. He accelerated, turned the corner, and started running as fast away as he could away from me. By the time I got in the middle of the street, he was about 150 yards away and leaving. And I put one more shot through the back window. The police say that went through the back window, went through the driver's side seat, and hit him just right in the left shoulder blade. And he continued over the hill. I'm standing in the middle of the street thinking, it can't end this way. It can't end this way. He's getting away. And I turned and looked to the left. There was a pickup truck, another Dodge, by the way, parked at the stop sign. I ran over and tapped on the window. That guy just shot up the Baptist church and we had to stop him. The man sat there on a cell phone. He had watched the whole shootout. He was calling 911. He was talking to 911. Here I am, barefoot, with an AR-15. He just saw a shootout, and I run over and tap on the window. Every sane person in this world would have driven off and left me standing there at the stop sign, but this is Texas. We're not known for sanity.
Yeah.
Next thing I hear is the locks come open on Johnny's truck, and I climbed up in the cab, long, tall Texan, about 6'3", real thin frame, white Western hat, feather out, sticking out of his hat, toothpick hanging out of his mouth, and you guys think I'm crazy. He had a longhorn skull tattooed here, and the horns run up underneath his ears. Looks like a cartoon or something, but he's a Texan all the way. Never dropped the toothpick out of his mouth. Accelerated, turned the corner and started chasing. Never said a word to me. Thank God for Texas. We're blasting down the road. We shot across 87 main thoroughway from San Antonio, Texas, that goes down to the coast. October, November, all the fishermen, Friday evening, leaving work. Right down 87, they're headed down to, the Reds are running at the coast. Sunday morning, everybody, they're coming home to go to work on Monday. We shot across 87 without even looking at over 90 miles per hour. Started chasing. First thing I did, I dropped the magazine. Wanted to know how many rounds I had left. I didn't know how many I fired. I didn't know how many I loaded. Dropped the magazine, looked in the top of the magazine. I got 1 round in the top of the magazine. I got 1 round in the chamber. And he still got on Class 3 body armor. I looked over and I said, tell them, hurry, hurry. I got 2 rounds left. I never wanted to see red and blue lights more in the rearview mirror in my life. We're running down the road, we're splitting cars and passing and chasing and looking. We had not even seen him anymore. And we were Johnny was telling 911, or actually they put him straight through to dispatch at this point. He's telling dispatch when we crossed a crossroad so they'd know exactly where we were. And we were just running. I told him, hurry, hurry. And as we came over the top of a hill and around a curve, that's it. Gray SUV, the back window's missing, that's him. And I turned and I looked at Johnny and I said, Johnny, or I didn't know his name. I said, you know, if you catch him, you're gonna have to put him off the road. Johnny just turns and looked at me and said, yep, I already figured that. And I'm thinking, he's thinking, well, I always wanted to try to do a pit maneuver. As we started catching him, he pulls off into the side of the road down in the ditch with a sign in front of his SUV. And I'm thinking, this is it. This has got to be good. And he stopped. Johnny pulled his truck up kind of behind him, still on the pavement, and stopped. I reached down and put the window down, stuck the rifle through the passenger side window, opened the door with my left hand and pushed the door out. I was going to stand behind the door, use it for a shield, and re-engage him. Before my foot hit the pavement, he accelerated. He hit the sign. It flipped over the vehicle and right back onto the ground. He swerved back up on the road and started again. I barely got enough time to pull my foot in the door and shut it before Johnny was on him again. He went another 3/4 of a mile up the road. This time he swerved off to the left, through a fence and out into a field, and stopped. I looked over and I said, just stay down below the dash, get down. Just stay out of bullet fire. And I got out and I put my rifle across the hood, focused on him about 50 yards away. And Johnny did whatever a millennial in this world would do. God bless Johnny. You know, people think I make fun of Johnny. I'm telling the absolute truth. None of this is wrong. But he's a brave man. I waited 5 to 7 minutes. 5 to 7 minutes for the police to show up. They were 5 to 7 minutes. I don't know if you guys know what 5 to 7 minutes is like. If you were in a church with a madman, 5 to 7 minutes is an eternity. The Wilson County Sheriff's Department, some of the bravest men and women in this world, they were coming as fast as they could, but they couldn't be there in time. I waited 5 to 7 minutes and then I hear a voice over a PA system. Driver, get out of the vehicle with your hands up. I turned and I looked up to my left. And 50 yards up the road, there's a police officer standing behind his door, his pistol drawn, and microphone in his left hand. And he said it again. Driver, get out of the vehicle with your hands up. And I looked over there and I thought, I don't need any mistakes at this point. Police are here. I laid my AR-15 on the hood of the truck. I started coming back to the back of the truck, palms out, hands up. He looked at me and made eye contact. He said, not you. That officer showed me more respect that day than I ever expected. He showed me that he needed me still, so I ran over, picked up the rifle, and held it over until about 5 or 6 more squad cars showed up. This time they had rifles, and they got out, and I'm like, I am done. Pulled the rifle off, stuck it on the back of the toolbox of Johnny's truck, and now I'm trying to hold on to the bed of Johnny's truck and put my bare feet in the shade. Unlike here, November 5th in Texas, it was 90 degrees that day. My feet were getting hot. Adrenaline's gone, my feet are hot. Now I'm like shaking like this. I stayed there for about 45 minutes waiting to see what's going on. Are they waiting for him to bleed out? I'm okay with that. But I just wanted to know what was going on. I'm trying to keep my feet cool. Finally, I decide I'm going to run back to the police line. I start to run. They say, no, stay where you're at. We'll bring up a police cruiser. And you can squat down for it, use it for cover to get back here. And they did, and I did. And the first thing, I looked up the road, and my wife is 200 yards up the road where the fire department has blocked off all the traffic, and I could see her car up the road. An officer walked by. I said, excuse me, can I call my wife? Sure, go ahead and call your wife. I said, can I use your phone? He said, you don't have a phone? I said, I don't have shoes. Phone was the last thing I was thinking of. Oh, sure, use my phone. I almost thought about calling a lawyer, but I took his phone and I called my wife and I said, hey, she says, I can give you my Crocs. My heels hang that high, far off of her Crocs. You know, shoes are shoes. I said, I asked the officer, I said, can I go back and get Crocs for my wife? He said, no, you need to stay here, sir. I said, but my feet are hot. And he opened up the back of his police car. He said, well, you can sit in the back of my police car. I said, no, I'm good. You know, some of the story is funny, and if I don't tell it that way, I can't help but cry. As the police were talking to me, and I was asking them, how bad is it? I wanted to know how bad. This is my community. I'm fourth generation there. Whole community is under 600 people. How bad is it? It's really bad. That's all they could tell me. It's really bad. So finally, after giving my statement to 6 law enforcement agencies, which I shouldn't have done, but I did, finally they tell me I can go. And I start walking back to the car, and a lady said, excuse me, Mr. Willeford, I need to talk to you. She came running up behind me. And she gave me this big bear hug, and she was crying. She said, I had friends in that church. She said, I want to thank you for what you did. And I'm crying with her. And she said, if I can help you at all, please give me a call. And she hands me a card. She says, I'm the DA of Wilson County. Maybe I'm not going to jail today. What happened within the church, because this is important, and had I not had my Second Amendment right to have an AR-15, the very gun the shooter was using, had I not had my AR-15, I may have been counted among the deceased today. Our Second Amendment is paramount to protect. What happened within the church? I talked about Chris Workman. I talked about Julie Workman, got shot through the breast. As soon as the shooter left, Julie Workman went over and saw a little 5-year-old girl that had just been swinging around her legs and singing praises to Jesus. Shot in the head, dead. Julie screamed. Gunny Macias yelled out. How many Marines have we got in here? Please raise your hand. Hoorah. Gunny Macias. Nobody seems to know what Gunny's first name really is. Everybody just calls him Gunny. Nobody knows what his name is. Gunny Macias was shot 5 times in the abdomen. He couldn't even stand up. And he yelled, first off, he yelled, Julie, wake up. None of this took God by surprise. We need you. Julie was an emergency room nurse. It woke Julie up. She started tying tourniquets and saving people within the church, bleeding from her own wounds. And then Gunny cried out in a loud, booming voice, "Hallelujah, hallelujah," even in this, praise God. And a little 5-year-old girl came up to Gunny and said, "Gunny, I'm scared." And he started singing, "Jesus Loves Me" with her. What a man, what a Marine. Hank Farron, first police officer on the scene, came running in. Hank had been collecting medical kits out of his own pocket because the police didn't provide them. He was collecting trauma kits and paying for them, and one of the other officers at one point asked him why he was doing that. Was he expecting something? He said, "You never know." That day, before EMS or anyone else got there, he went running in, ready to do battle with his rifle, ready to go. And then when he found out the shooter had left, he started tying tourniquets and saving lives and distributing tourniquets to other officers and saving lives within our church. We have a number of heroes in Sutherland Springs. If you ever get a chance, come visit my community, best place in the world to live. I want to say a little bit about what's going on, because here we are in election year. How many of you guys was Donald Trump not your first choice? Thank you for admitting that. I'm not the only one. Because I thought, who is this brass New Yorker that talks like this, makes promises that everybody knows he's not going to keep? I'm for a good old Texas boy, Ted Cruz. Okay? I think what's problem is now, with me having such a problem with Donald Trump, is because New Yorkers are the only ones that are almost as proud of their state as Texans. And we can't understand it. So Donald Trump's making all these promises. I don't believe him. Says he's going to rebuild, then he's going to build the wall. Yeah, right. Says he's going to move the embassy to Jerusalem. Yeah, how many presidents before said that? I don't believe that either. Said he's going to renegotiate NAFTA. Yeah, that ain't going to happen. And you know, I've seen the pictures with him and the Clintons before. I don't trust him on Supreme Court judges. That was my thought about Donald Trump. And now what has he done? He's fulfilled every one of those promises. And he's trying his hardest to renegotiate with China. And now he has another Supreme Court justice. I'm going to tell you. This is big. Elections have consequences. Who said that? Barack Obama. He said elections have consequences. Well, guess what? Yes, they do. We have the Senate. We have the presidency. We can make another selection before it's over. Now I've got a different view here, because now I'm starting to believe politicians. I've never had a reason to believe a politician in my life. So if I'm going to start believing politicians, I have to believe Joe Biden. No, I have to believe him. What has he said?
Raise taxes.
He said that he was coming after the gun manufacturers. Said it on a debate. We're coming after you. He said, little Bobby O'Rourke. He said he's going to make them the gun czar. What did Bobby O'Rourke say? Hell yeah, we're coming after your AR-15s and your AK-47s. And then he nominates, or he chooses, Kamala Harris. What did Kamala Harris say? Kamala Harris said if she were president, she would give Congress 100 days to act every semi-automatic gun out there. Make no mistake, a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris, because she's going to be in office. I'm believing them.
We know that.
I'm believing politicians for the first time in my life, and there is a stark difference in who you have to vote for. God bless Donald Trump. I believe Donald Trump was chosen for a reason. I believe God has put him here to give us a chance to turn this country around. And we better not get it wrong. I've got to wrap this up tonight. I got a long ways. I got to be in Pittsburgh at 8:30 in the morning to catch a flight to go back to Texas.
God bless.
So I got to wrap this up pretty quick. I want to give you a few things. I want to say I saw a meme not long ago. And I truly believe this. You know, when I met my wife, she had promised, she's from St. Louis, Missouri. She said, I hated Texans because they're arrogant about their state. She said, I swear I'd never marry a Texan. She moved to Texas, she met me, and then she figured out we're not arrogant at all. We're just right. I say that to say I love my community. Fourth generation there. My great-grandfather played Santa Claus in my community. That's what the beard is about. Sooner in December, late December, almost Christmas, I get on my Harley Davidson. I ride through Wilson County and I deliver toys to low-income families, just like my great-grandfather used to do. And there's a meme out there, and the meme says, I wish Americans loved America as much as Texans love Texans. I challenge you today to love America as much as Texans love Texans. And I know you guys are Pennsylvanians, and you probably love Pennsylvania as much as I do. But make that a pledge. God bless Pennsylvania. God bless America. And please pray for our country long and hard. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kindly agreed to take a couple of questions, since we have a couple minutes before he has to run out of here to drive to Pittsburgh before he leaves.